The day my father died, my family made a decision without me. They gave my childhood home to my older brother. Just like that. No discussion. No explanation. And they expected me to accept it. But they didn't know. My father had spent his final months preparing for exactly what they were about to do. My name is Rachel Carter. I was 31 years old when my father passed away. For most of my life, my father had been my safest place. He wasn't rich. He didn't own a huge company. He wasn't famous. He was just a hardworking man who spent 35 years running a small construction business. And our family home, that old two-story house on Maple Street, was everything to him. He built most of it himself. Every wall, every cabinet, every wooden shelf. He used to tell me, "Rachel, this house isn't valuable because of the money. It's valuable because of the memories." I believed him. My older brother, Michael, never did. Michael always complained that the house was too small, too old, too far from the city. He wanted something bigger, something expensive, something that made him look successful. And somehow, my parents always gave him what he wanted. After Dad's funeral, everyone gathered in the living room. Mom was sitting quietly on the sofa. Michael was standing near the fireplace. Then he said something I'll never forget. Dad wanted me to have the house. I looked at him. What? He pulled a folder from his briefcase. He left everything to me. My heart dropped. Everything. Michael nodded. The house. The workshop. Most of his savings. I looked at Mom. Is this true?
She didn't look at me.
She simply whispered, "Your father made his decision." I couldn't believe it. But he never told me. Michael smiled. He didn't have to. Then he handed me an envelope. I opened it. Inside was a check. $5,000. I stared at it. What's this? Your share. I looked at him in disbelief. $5,000? He shrugged. Be grateful. I slowly stood up. That's not what Dad would have wanted. Michael's expression changed. You always thought Dad loved you more. I never said that. You didn't have to. Mom finally looked at me. Rachel, just take the money and let your brother have the house. I felt something inside me break. That house wasn't just bricks and wood. It was where Dad taught me to ride a bicycle, where Mom celebrated my 18th birthday, where Dad sat beside me after my first heartbreak. And now, they were handing it to Michael like I had never existed. I left that night. I didn't take the check. I didn't take anything. 3 weeks passed. I stopped answering Michael's calls. Then one evening, he called me himself. Rachel. What? You need to come back to the house. Why? There's something wrong. I almost laughed. You have the house now. Then fix it yourself. His voice became nervous. It's Dad's old workshop. What about it? We found something. I froze. What did you find? He hesitated. We don't know. That's why I'm calling you. I drove back to Maple Street. When I arrived, Michael was standing outside the workshop. Mom was beside him. Both looked terrified. I walked inside. Dad's old tools were still hanging on the walls. His workbench was covered with dust. Then Michael pointed toward the back wall. That wasn't there before. I looked. There was a strange rectangular outline in the wooden paneling. I walked closer. My fingers touched the edge.
It moved.
I pulled. A section of the wall opened. Behind it was a narrow hidden compartment. Inside sat a black metal box. I looked at Michael. Did you open it? He shook his head. No. Why not? Because. He swallowed. Your name is written on it. My heart began pounding. I stepped closer. There, written in my father's handwriting, were 4 words. For Rachel. Open alone. I looked at Mom. Her face had gone completely pale. Mom, what is this? She didn't answer. Michael stepped forward. Whatever is inside. We should open it together. I shook my head.
No.
I picked up the box. This has my name on it. Then I noticed something underneath. A second envelope. Also addressed to me. I opened it. There was only one sentence. If Michael has the house, then the will you were shown is not my final will. I stopped breathing. I looked at my brother. He stared at me. And for the first time, Michael looked genuinely afraid. Because Dad had just left me something that could take everything back. I stared at the sentence. If Michael has the house, then the will you were shown is not my final will. My hands went cold. I looked at my brother. He wasn't saying anything. Michael, did you know about this? He shook his head quickly.
No.
But his eyes told me something different. Mom stepped closer. Rachel, give me that letter. I pulled it away.
Why?
Because this is a private family matter. I looked at her. It became my business the moment Dad wrote my name on it. Michael suddenly reached toward the metal box. I stepped back. Don't touch it.
He stopped.
For the first time in my life, my brother looked afraid of me. I took the box home. I didn't open it until I was alone. Inside were 3 things: a USB drive, a small brass key, and a sealed envelope. The envelope had another message written across it. Rachel, watch the video first. I inserted the USB drive into my laptop. A video appeared. My father's face filled the screen. He looked tired, much older than I remembered, but his eyes were calm. Rachel, if you're watching this, then something has gone terribly wrong. I cover my mouth.
Dad continued.
I know what your brother has been telling everyone. I know what your mother has signed. And I know they believe the house belongs to Michael. He paused. It doesn't. My heart started racing. Dad leaned closer to the camera. Rachel, I need you to understand something. I never changed my mind about you. You were always the child I trusted with the truth. I started crying. Then he said something that shocked me. Michael has been struggling financially for years. He owes more money than you know. I froze. 6 months before my death. He asked me to sell the house. I refused. Dad looked down. Then he started taking money from my company. I whispered, no. At first, I ignored small amounts. But eventually, it became impossible to ignore. Dad opened a folder beside him. I confronted Michael. He promised he would repay everything. He didn't. So, I changed my will. My heart stopped. I left the house to you, the business to you. And I placed Michael's inheritance into a trust. Not because I hated him, but because I wanted to protect him from himself. The video paused for a second. Then Dad looked directly into the camera. But your mother disagreed. I stared at the screen. She wanted to give Michael everything. She believed you were strong enough to start over. Dad shook his head. I knew that wasn't fair. Then he said the words that changed everything. Rachel, if they showed you a different will, don't confront them yet. Find the original. The key will tell you where it is. The video ended. I stared at the screen, then looked at the brass key. There was a number engraved on it. 317. I immediately recognized it. Dad's old workshop had a storage room with numbered lockers. Locker 317. I drove there that night. The building was empty. I unlocked the door. Inside was an old wooden cabinet. I opened it. There was another metal box, but this one wasn't locked. Inside was a folder, and on the first page was the original will. My name was listed as the primary beneficiary. The house, the business, the workshop, everything. But there was another page, a bank statement. I stared at the amount. $380,000. Then I noticed the account holder. It wasn't Dad. It was Michael Carter. I looked at the transaction history. Money had been transferred from Dad's company into Michael's personal account. Again and again. For years. Then I saw the final transfer. It happened only 2 days before Dad died. $75,000. I took a photograph of the page. Then suddenly, I heard footsteps outside. Someone was coming. I quickly turned off the light. The door opened. I heard Michael's voice. Rachel. My heart stopped. He stepped inside. I know you're here. I stayed completely silent. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. If you found Dad's original will, you have no idea what else you're going to find. I held my breath. Michael walked closer. Then, He pulled out his phone and made a call. She found it. There was a pause. Then he whispered, "We need to deal with her before she goes to the lawyer." I covered my mouth because suddenly I realized this wasn't just about the house. Michael had been hiding something much bigger, and whoever was on that phone had been helping him all along. I stayed completely still inside the storage room. Michael was only a few feet away. I could hear him breathing. Then his phone rang. Yes, he listened.
No.
She hasn't gone to the lawyer yet. Another pause. I'll handle it. My heart was pounding. Then Michael left. I waited almost 10 minutes before moving. When I finally stepped outside, my first instinct was to call the police. But I stopped. Dad had warned me.
Don't confront them yet.
I needed more evidence. The next morning, I called Dad's old accountant. His name was Mr. Harris. He had worked with Dad for more than 20 years. When I told him about the original will, he went silent. "Rachel, where did you find it?" "In Dad's storage locker." He sighed. "Then your father was right." "Right about what?" "He told me that if anything happened to him, I was supposed to give you something." My heart skipped. "What?" "A financial report." "How can I get it?" "You can't."
Why?
"Because Michael already took it." I froze. "What?" "He came to my office 3 days after your father's funeral. He demanded every copy of your father's financial records." I tightened my grip on the phone. "Did you give them to him?" "No." Mr. Harris lowered his voice. "I made copies." "Where are they?" "At my house." That afternoon, I went to Mr. Harris's home. He handed me a thick folder. "Your father suspected Michael had been stealing from the company." I opened it. There were dozens of transactions. Payments to Michael. Payments to shell companies. Fake invoices. And then, I saw a company name I didn't recognize. Carter Property Holdings. "What's this?" Mr. Harris looked uncomfortable. "That's the company Michael created 6 months ago."
Why?
"He planned to transfer your father's property into it." I stared at him. All of it. Eventually, I felt sick. So the house was only the beginning. Then I noticed something. Several transfers had been authorized by someone else. Someone with access to Dad's private accounts. I looked at the signature. My stomach dropped. It belonged to
Mom.
"She signed these?" Mr. Harris nodded. "Some of them." "Why?" "I don't know. But your father was furious when he discovered it." I suddenly remembered the video. Dad had said, "Your mother disagreed." Maybe it wasn't just about the inheritance. Maybe Mom had been helping Michael. I drove to Mom's house. She opened the door. The moment she saw me, she knew. "You found something." It wasn't a question. I stepped inside. "Why did you sign the transfers?" She looked away. "I was trying to protect your brother." "From what?" "From losing everything." I laughed bitterly. "Mom, he stole from Dad. He lied about the will. And you helped him."
She started crying.
"I made mistakes."
No.
"You made choices." She looked at me. "Your father always favored you." I stared at her. "He trusted me. He trusted you too."
No.
She shook her head. "He knew Michael needed me." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mom, he needed money. He needed help. He was drowning. And you let him drag everyone else underwater." She said nothing. Then I noticed something on the table. A photograph. It showed Michael standing beside another man. I picked it up. "Who is this?" Mom immediately grabbed it. "Nobody." "Mom, give it to me." I pulled it back. The man's face looked familiar. I'd seen him before. In Dad's office. I finally remembered. He was one of Dad's business partners. Victor Lane. I looked at Mom. "Why is Michael meeting him?" She didn't answer. That silence told me everything. That night, I returned to Dad's workshop. I searched through every document, every drawer, every cabinet. Then I found something hidden underneath the workbench. A small notebook. Dad's handwriting covered every page. Dates, names, amounts, and one sentence repeated several times. "Victor is working with Michael." My hands started shaking. Dad had known. Michael wasn't acting alone. Victor had been helping him move money out of the company. But then I found the final page. It contained a meeting date, the day before Dad died. Underneath it, Dad had written, "If they succeed, Rachel will lose everything." I sat down. Then I noticed something written underneath. 3 words. Trust no one. Suddenly,
My phone rang.
it was Mr. Harris. Rachel. His voice was shaking. What happened? Someone broke into my house. I stood up. Are you okay? Yes. Did they take anything? There was a long silence. Then he said, "They took the folder I gave you." My blood ran cold. But they didn't take the money. They didn't take anything else. They only wanted the documents. I whispered, "Michael." Mr. Harris replied, "Rachel, there is something else.
What?
Your father left one final recording." I froze. What recording? It wasn't on the USB. Where is it? Mr. Harris took a breath. Your father sent it to me the night before he died. And he told me never to show it to anyone, unless you were in danger. I gripped the phone. Send it to me. He hesitated, then said, "I will." A few seconds later, a video appeared on my phone. I pressed play. Dad looked directly into the camera. His voice was barely a whisper. "Rachel, if you're watching this, Michael has already discovered the money."
He paused.
Then said something that made my heart stop. "But the money isn't the real secret." He leaned closer. "The real secret is about your mother." The screen went black, and I realized the person I trusted most in my family might have been hiding the biggest secret of all. I replayed Dad's final recording 3 times. Every time, the same words echoed in my mind. The real secret is about your mother. I couldn't understand. What could Mom possibly have done? She had always been the gentle one, the one who cooked for everyone, the one who defended Michael, the one who cried at Dad's funeral.
But now,
I wasn't sure what to believe anymore. Mr. Harris called me the next morning. "Rachel, you need to come to my office."
why?
"I found something in your father's records." "What?" "A payment." "From whom?" "Your mother." I froze. "To whom?" "Victor Lane." My stomach dropped. The same man who had been working with Michael. "How much?" Mr. Harris hesitated. $200,000. "When?" "The day before your father died." I couldn't breathe. "Are you sure?" I checked the bank records. "It's there." I drove to his office immediately. Mr. Harris placed the documents in front of me. The payment was real. Mom had transferred $200,000 to Victor, and the description beside the transaction said, "For Rachel." I stared at it. "What does that mean?" Mr. Harris shook his head. "I don't know." Then he handed me another document. This was attached to the transfer. I read it.
It was a contract.
And my name appeared on it. I looked at Mr. Harris. Why would Mom pay Victor using my name? He didn't answer. Then I noticed something. The contract wasn't for money. It was for the ownership of Carter Construction. I felt dizzy. Wait, was Mom trying to sell Dad's company? No. Mr. Harris pointed to a paragraph. Read this.
I did.
The agreement stated that if anything happened to my father, I would automatically become the controlling owner of the company. I looked at him. Then why was Mom paying Victor? Because. Mr. Harris took a deep breath. Your mother was buying your protection. I couldn't speak. For years, I had thought Mom chose Michael over me. But, perhaps, she had been protecting me in a way I never understood. Mr. Harris continued. Your father knew Michael was stealing. He also knew Victor was helping him. But your mother discovered something even worse.
What?
Michael had borrowed money from Victor. Millions. And Victor wanted repayment. I whispered. So Michael gave him access to Dad's company. Mr. Harris nodded. Exactly. Then I remembered something. Michael's company, Carter Property Holdings. It wasn't just a shell company. It was created to transfer Dad's assets. And Victor was behind it. But there was another name on the documents.
Mom.
I stared at the page. Why would she sign this? Mr. Harris answered quietly. because she was trying to buy time. She knew Michael was going to lose everything, and she was trying to keep Victor away from you. I closed my eyes. Everything was finally coming together. That evening, I went to Mom. I placed the documents on the table. She looked at them, then started crying. You found out. I sat across from her. Tell me the truth. She nodded. I will. She took a deep breath. Your father knew Michael was stealing. I knew too, but Michael threatened to hurt himself if we reported him. I stared at her. He manipulated you. Yes. But there was something else. What? Victor threatened Michael. He told him that if he didn't give him access to the company, he would expose the money Michael had stolen. I shook my head. So Michael was trapped. Mom nodded, but instead of confessing, he dragged all of us into it. I looked at her. And Dad. She wiped her tears. Your father was going to report them. When? The morning after he died. I froze. What? Mom's voice broke. He had already contacted the authorities. But Michael found out. My heart stopped. Mom, did Michael? She couldn't finish the sentence. I stood up. Are you saying Michael had something to do with Dad's death? Mom immediately shook her head. No. Your father died naturally, but Michael knew Dad was going to expose him. I sat down again. So, he forged the will. Yes. He took the house. Yes. He stole the money. Yes. And you helped him? Mom looked at me. I was trying to stop everything from becoming worse. I shook my head. You should have told me. I was afraid. Of Michael? She whispered. Of losing both my children. I left her house feeling broken. But I wasn't angry anymore. I finally understood. Mom had made terrible choices, but she had been trying to protect me. The next morning, I contacted the authorities. I gave them everything. The original will, the financial records, Dad's videos, Mom's transfers, Michael's shell company, Victor's involvement, everything. And within 24 hours, they opened an official investigation. Michael found out. He called me. What did you do? I answered calmly. I told the truth. You'll destroy this family. No. You did that. He started shouting. You don't understand. I understand enough. Then his voice suddenly became quiet. Rachel. Please. I had never heard my brother sound so desperate. Help me. I closed my eyes. I can't. Why? Because Dad spent his last months trying to protect me from you. Silence. Then I said, and I'm not going to betray him now. I ended the call. 2 days later, police arrived at Michael's house. They found financial records, hidden bank accounts, fake property contracts, and evidence connecting him to Victor. Victor was arrested the same afternoon. Michael was taken into custody that evening. The house was temporarily frozen as part of the investigation. And for the first time, nobody could take anything from me. But there was still one thing left. Dad's original company. The company he had spent 35 years building. The court recognized the original will. And according to Dad's wishes, I became the controlling owner. I stood inside his office. The same office where I had sat beside him as a child. On his desk was a photograph of our family. I picked it up, then noticed something written on the back. Dad's handwriting. Only one sentence. Rachel, never confuse forgiveness with surrender. I smiled through my tears, because now, I finally understood exactly what he meant. And tomorrow, I was going to make one final decision. A decision that would determine what happened to the house, the company, and my family. The next morning, I sat alone in my father's office. His photograph was still on the desk. I looked at it for a long time. Then I remembered his final words. Never confuse forgiveness with surrender. I finally knew what I had to do. The court confirmed Dad's original will. The house belonged to me. The company belonged to me. The money Michael had taken had to be returned. And Victor's involvement was officially investigated. But I didn't want to simply take everything from my brother. I wanted to understand why Dad had left the house to me. So I returned to Maple Street. I walked through every room. Dad's workshop, Mom's kitchen, my old bedroom. Then I entered the living room. I remembered Dad telling me, "This house isn't valuable because of the money. It's valuable because of the memories." And suddenly, I knew what I wanted to do with it. A month later, I made an announcement. The house would not be sold. It would become a community center, a place where families struggling with financial problems could receive free legal and financial advice. The workshop would become a training center for young people who wanted to learn construction skills. My father's company would fund it, and the name on the building would be the Thomas Carter Family Center. My father deserved that. Then I visited Michael in prison. He looked completely different. The confident man who had taken control of our family
Was gone.
He sat across from me. "Why did you come?" I placed a folder on the table. "Because there's something you need to know." He opened it. Inside was a copy of the new property agreement. His eyes widened. "You kept the house?" "Yes." "And the workshop?" "It's being converted into a training center." He looked down. "Why?" "Because Dad wanted this house to mean something." Michael's eyes filled with tears. "After everything I did, you still did this?" I nodded. "I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for Dad." He was silent for a long time. Then he whispered, "I'm sorry." I looked at him. "I know. I was jealous of you. I know. I thought Dad loved you more." I shook my head. He didn't love either of us more. He just trusted the person who didn't betray him. Michael began crying. For the first time, I saw my brother without his pride, without his anger, without the greed. Just a broken man who finally understood what he had lost. I stood up. "Michael." He looked at me. "I forgive you." His eyes widened. "But forgiveness doesn't mean you get everything back." He nodded. "I understand." I also met with Mom. She had been carrying guilt for months. She apologized for helping Michael, for hiding the truth, for doubting Dad's wishes. I hugged her, not because everything was forgotten, but because she was still my mother. And sometimes, healing doesn't mean pretending the past never happened. It means refusing to let the past control the rest of your life. 6 months later, the family center opened. Hundreds of people attended. Dad's old employees, neighbors, friends, even some of the people who had attended his funeral. I stood at the entrance. Above me was a wooden sign, Carter Family Center. I touched it, and for a moment, I felt like Dad was standing beside me. That evening, I returned to the workshop. The old hidden compartment was still there, the place where everything had started. I opened it one last time. Inside, there was nothing left, except a tiny handwritten note I hadn't noticed before. I opened it. Dad had written, "Rachel, if you've reached the end of this journey, remember this." I continued reading. "They may take your money. They may take your home. They may even make you question your own worth. But nobody can take away the truth once you have the courage to face it." I smiled, then folded the note. For months, I thought my revenge would be watching Michael lose everything. But I was wrong. The real revenge was taking everything they tried to destroy and turning it into something good. Michael wanted the house for money. I turned it into a place that helped people. Victor wanted control. I used the company to create opportunities. My family wanted me to walk away with $5,000. Instead, I built something worth far more than money. And my father's final gift wasn't the house. It wasn't the company. It wasn't the inheritance. It was the truth. The truth gave me the strength to stand up for myself. And once I did, nobody could ever control me again. I looked at Dad's photograph one final time.
"Thank you, Dad."
Then I turned off the lights and walked out of the house. Not as the daughter who had been left with nothing, but as the woman my father had always believed I could become.